Welcome to episode 18 of the Two Average Guys Sport Podcast. Just a couple average dudes talking about sports. No former playing experience, no former management experience, literally two average guys. My name is Sam. This is my co-host here, Espen. Espen, how are we doing today, man?
We're doing pretty good. We got our teams both our teams playing today. It's a weird season, weird scheduling, but hey, Chiefs kick off in an hour. This episode's coming out on Tuesday, so the games will be played. But when we're recording now, we got our teams coming up.
So. I know. So first, we had a crazy weekend in sports, some upsets in college football. Obviously, some baseball talk to talk about. Sunday, not great NFL games. Definitely ones that were hyped up, didn't live up to the hype. Then some underestimated ones did live up to the hype. And then today, like you said, we got the Chiefs-Bills at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Central Time, and then the Cowboys tonight against the Cardinals at 8:15. Shall we go ahead and get started?
Let's start rolling.
Yeah, so obviously, we usually talk about basketball first. The season is over. There's really nothing to talk about for the next couple of weeks or month or so until the NBA draft, until that kind of rolls around. So we're going to hop into baseball right away. Obviously, World Series has been set. Both series, NLCS and the ALCS, went to 7 games. Definitely surprising considering, I would say after 5 games, we were just like, we didn't really have a series.
Yeah, first time since I believe 2004 that both the ALCS and NLCS both go to 7 games. They both turned out to be really exciting series. We'll start with the ALCS a little bit here. Houston, Tampa almost pulled the New York Yankees. They were up 3-0, and Houston comes all the way back, ties it at 3, but thank God Tampa showed up for Game 7 because all of America was cheering for Tampa in Game 7. And, you really love to see Houston just flying out.
Literally the Yankees got beat by Tampa, and most years I'd want Tampa to get killed. However, when they're playing Houston, who decide to have a little fun with some trash cans, I would do anything to see Houston lose, and thank God it happened, man. Jose Altuve, not a fan. George Springer, not a fan. I'm sure they're good people, but just come on. You had to cheat to win a ring.
Yeah, they're the most hated organization in sports right now. They leapfrog over. I can't stand the Patriots. I'm not the biggest Cowboys fan, not the biggest Yankees fan, but they just leaped over everybody. So, Houston.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't. And in a normal season too, they would not have been in the playoffs. That's the thing. They had the worst record out of the 8 teams in the American League. So in a normal season, they aren't a playoff team. I really hope this is a downward spiral for that team and that organization just turns to crap.
Yeah, I will say this. I do hate Houston. I'm all for hating Houston. I think what they did was very BS. But shout out to Dusty Baker for getting his team that far. Dusty Baker's like 90 years old on his last leg, probably 1 kidney and 1 breath away from getting COVID and dropping. So shout out to Dusty Baker.
I like Dusty Baker as a manager. He always seems like the fun grandpa or whatever, but it just sucks he had to go to such a crappy organization, but it's whatever.
Yeah, for sure. But heading out to the NL, where it was played in Texas, Dodgers were down 3-1, and they seemed to never give up. The Braves were up 2-0 and then 3-2, I believe, and they blew the lead. And so rip to Atlanta sports because your teams suck. Your teams are absolutely awful. So shout out to the Dodgers, man. I guess this might be their year.
Yeah, Atlanta. What in the hell is going on? Let's just take a little trip down memory lane for Atlanta sports here. So it starts with the Atlanta Falcons, of course, blowing a 28-3 Super Bowl lead against the Patriots, and then we move to Georgia football having an enormous lead against Alabama in the national championship. I believe they were up 24-6. They blow that, and a lot of Atlanta fans were Georgia fans. And then let's fast forward to this season. The Atlanta Falcons continue to have more leads. They've blown 2 huge leads, and now the Braves have blown a 3-1 lead.
I'm going to add on top of that. I just want to mention this. Atlanta Hawks did have the best record in the NBA like 6 years ago and lost in like the second round and lost all their players after that. So
I don't really. That seems like that could have been 25
years ago. They had
Al
Horford. They had Paul
Joe
Millsap.
Johnson.
I believe Joe Johnson's on the team, and now they just Atlanta sports are irrelevant.
Yeah, and the Braves were I mean, obviously we weren't alive for this, but the Braves were the team in the '90s for baseball. I mean, they were such a dominant organization, and now you really hate to see it. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question to kind of add on to this. Which is worse, Atlanta blowing the Super Bowl lead or blowing this 3-1 series lead? I would love to say the Super Bowl, but they had 3 games to win it, and they couldn't win a single game. That is terrible, man.
You know what? I'm gonna call it a tie because they're both just equally bad. Because the Falcons were, I mean, they were 2.5 minutes left in the third quarter. They were a quarter away from winning the Super Bowl. Basically any other team, I think, wins that game. And then going back to the Braves. The Dodgers batting it woke up in game 6 and 7. Cody Bellinger, Kiki Hernandez. They got the bats rolling, and we thought it would be an unpredictable playoffs, but it turned out the 1 seeds in both AL and NL are meeting in the World Series. So
yeah, and like you said, the 1 seeds in both conferences are I guess conferences really are in the World Series. What are your predictions? I got the Dodgers in 7.
Man,
just to throw this out there, Clayton Kershaw is now starting game 1. It was just named. So
congrats to Tampa for winning game 1.
Yeah,
I have
pretty
a
much.
question before I predict, is Clayton Kershaw the worst postseason pitcher maybe in history?
He's up there. He has not been able to do it in the postseason.
It is depressing how great he is in the regular season. His stats, his ERA is just phenomenal.
It's Oklahoma football in a baseball form.
That was one of the first episodes. Yeah, you made that point. Going back to predictions though, I saw an interesting theory. Tom Brady brings championships to cities, so Tampa gets another championship. Let's also talk about that too. A little interesting thing. The Lakers and the Tampa Bay Lightning just won the championships in their sports, and now we have Tampa, LA again. What's going on?
This is the tiebreaker for what city is now better. I mean, I remember us shitting on the city of Tampa for being terrible sports fans.
Dude, they're probably the best sports city right now. If you had
the only reason I would consider rooting for Tampa is because they say screw COVID has Florida people, and they will just have a big ass parade.
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, I don't think I'll be super. I really don't have any rooting preference in this series. I'm just kind of watching it from the casual fan perspective. So I think if we get 7 games, I'm happy. Don't care who wins, just give me 7 games.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I don't really care who wins this one, but give us 7. Make it go.
I'll pick Rays. I'll pick Tampa. So that's my pick.
I'll pick Dodgers, but
okay.
That's because it's just casual baseball fan.
Yeah.
But transitioning from the playoffs to the regular season of college football, go ahead and take this one.
Yeah, so some interesting games from this past weekend. Clemson decided to hang 73 on Georgia Tech this weekend. Just proving that they're
400 yards.
Yeah, so Trevor Lawrence is going to be sources are telling me he's going to be a number 1 pick.
Sources are telling me that he's going back to college because he doesn't want to play for the Jets. He's the Jets. We'll get back to that though.
We'll get back to that, but yeah, Clemson, they just look super dominant. They're going to be in the playoffs. Spoiler alert, But then going to another ACC game, North Carolina, Florida State. Shocking upset. Florida, we were both pretty high on North Carolina, picking them last week. With Mac Brown and his team rolling into Tallahassee. Is that where Florida State is? Yeah, they're in Tallahassee. Florida State jumps out to a 31-7 lead. North Carolina pulls. They have a huge comeback and almost win. They almost get the comeback going, but it dropped. I tuned into this game with a couple minutes left, and they had a 4th down and wide receiver wide open. He drops it. It ends the comeback. Florida State, they've been crappy the last few years. So they got a pretty big win for that program.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. They really haven't been relevant since Jameis Winston, in all honesty. So shout out to them for grabbing a dub.
Haven't been many W's to lick for Florida State.
Literally none.
Yeah.
And the next one, the SEC battle. Crazy week for Bama, I guess you could say. Nick Saban tests positive on Wednesday. And so per SEC protocols, you have to have 3 negative tests, all with not within, but like I guess without 24-hour span. I don't know what the terminology is. So you test negative on Thursday, test negative on Friday, and test negative on Saturday. I think Nick Saban just decided to beat COVID, like per coaching. And so Georgia played well in the first half. Alabama just did Alabama shit.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it was 24-20 at halftime. It looked like it was going to be a really, really, offensive game, and it was in a sense. But Alabama's defense, they showed why they pump out NFL players every couple of years. They get guys to the NFL. They shut out Georgia in the second half. I was surprised Georgia's defense played as bad as it did. I thought they were the best defense in the country. I kind of tuned away once Alabama got way ahead because I was like, whatever, screw Alabama. But yeah, it's fun college football. Clemson, Alabama, woohoo!
Yeah, and speaking about the top 5 that we discussed, so number 5 is Ohio State, who are going to play next week.
Finally, well,
right. Next, you got Georgia. Do you like that? Do you like Georgia at number 4 after losing to Bama? At Bama.
Yeah. It was competitive for most of the game. And you're not going to let Ohio State jump in front of Georgia. Georgia has played better teams. Georgia's played actual football games. So, a lot of these like 2-3 matchups, always the team only drops a couple spots. So,
yeah, I think they should put Kansas at number 4. Number 3, Notre Dame. Number 3 is Notre Dame. I can't wait until they lose because I know they're going to. It's at some point Notre Dame always just sucks. So
it's inevitable. They get up into the top 5, and then they'll have I'm pretty sure they have to play like at North Carolina, at Clemson. I think they play like Virginia Tech and Miami. So they haven't played anybody yet, basically. Yeah. So
shout out to Brian Kelly. Your team is still all right. Number 2, what's that?
I was gonna say Notre Dame. An impressive showing against Louisville, beating them 12-7. So good for them.
What's that actually?
It was 12-7.
Number 2.
Louisville ain't great. Yeah, go ahead.
Number 2 is Alabama. I don't know what I'm doing here. Number 1 is Clemson. All right, let me ask, right? Clemson versus Bama right now, college football championship, I guess you could say. Who's gonna win?
Yeah, it's gonna be Clemson.
You think so? You think Clemson pulls away?
Yeah, Clemson's just they hung 73 points this weekend.
Yeah, but it's Georgia Tech. It's all the nerds. It's like all the nerds that are engineers that like couldn't get into Harvard.
Their closest game, I think, this year has been against Miami. They won by 25, and Miami was number 7 in the country when they played. It's just no one can compete with Clemson. I think Alabama could compete with them for maybe 3 quarters or so, but Clemson's just this. This could be one of the more dominant teams I've ever seen. LSU last year, of course, was one of the best college football teams of all time, but Clemson might give them a run for their money this year.
Yeah, and then also in the top 25 odd teams, I guess you could say, BYU beat Houston. I thought Houston actually was going to have a chance. BYU just didn't demolish them, but they beat the hell out of them. So BYU is now number 12. So
the Fighting Mormon Cougars, let's go. Number 12. They're on their way to get cranking that top 10. And
I cannot wait until they play a team like Alabama or like Ohio State, because Ohio State would slaughter them.
That's so true. It's just exciting to get excited about new teams that aren't Clemson and Alabama. I feel like these days with college football, it's always fun to see these new teams. But we have a few other teams on the list too. Coming in at number 16, SMU. They actually have a huge game. They actually have a huge game this upcoming weekend. They play number 9 Cincinnati, so a little American showdown on Saturday.
And Cincinnati did not play last week, so
yeah.
Who else?
Oh yeah, and then Kansas State. We got to give them a little bit of credit. They looked really bad their first week. They lost to Arkansas State, I believe, in week 1. So
did they actually?
I was really happy about that. But they've looked good. Their next opponent is the football Jayhawks of Kansas next Saturday. So God help us all.
Well, in-state rivalry.
Is it a rivalry when we've lost 13 straight? I don't think so.
That's pretty bad.
This isn't the Kansas football podcast.
Hey, just remember that you are an irrelevant part of Kansas. Manhattan, Kansas. I'm assuming that's where they are, right? Manhattan, Kansas.
Little Apple, that's what they call it.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty nerdy. Yeah, not a good look for Kansas State fans.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we have a couple other teams. How about Marshall getting to the rankings? Number 23, we are Marshall.
I
Cool
think the
for
next
them.
one's a bigger upset.
Coastal Carolina, Kansas lost to this team. And get them some respect. That's what I'm
Also,
talking about.
Coastal Carolina has like a teal-colored field, so I like that.
Yeah, that's just fun to be different.
Just a cool fact. Just a cool little fact.
Shout out to Dustin Johnson. He went to college there. So.
Did he? Hey, he partied his ass off. That's all you do at Coastal Carolina. Hey, you know what? They did win the baseball championship a couple of years ago. So is this the year for football?
Probably not, but it'll be
worth a shot. They're Myrtle Beach.
Shot, yeah.
Worst case scenario, you go down to the beach and go get drunk. I don't know.
Fun in Dirty Myrtle.
Yeah, Dirty Myrtle is from Saturdays to Sundays. First game, let me tell you, this was one of those games where it was just like, who gives a shit? And all of a sudden turned into probably the game of the week. The Titans beat the Texans in a thriller, to say the least, in overtime. What are your thoughts? And then I have something to say. So you go ahead.
Very back and forth game. Tennessee jumped out to an early lead, and then Deshaun Watson on offense. They were rolling with Will Fuller. We both had our eyes on this one because we had different picks in this one. You had Tennessee, I had Houston. So I was really hoping Houston would pull through, and Houston disappoints me and decides not to play defense in the fourth quarter and in overtime. And I think I know what you're going to get into about the 2-point conversion, but
I'm not going to get in that.
I was going to say an absolute asinine decision to go for 2 when you can make it an 8-point lead, and you're going to have to make Tennessee go for 2. But no, Houston's just going to be idiots and go for 2 and not make it, and Tennessee wins it. So
here's a few things, right? Number one is I fell asleep during the game, and I woke up, and it was, I think, 2 minutes left. I took a nap because Sundays, right? That's number one. Number two is Ryan Tannehill, possible MVP candidate, yes or no? I know it's a stretch. I know.
What are you smoking?
Dude, they're 5-0. You have to ask.
He's not putting up crazy stats though. Like when I think of MVP,
like
I think
4
of crazy
touchdowns. I think.
Oh, did he? Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, he's maybe considered. I would still put Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. You could throw Alvin Kamara on that list.
I'm gonna throw this in. 30 for 41 yesterday, 364 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 pick.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying he's gonna win it, but I'm just saying if he goes like ham,
give him some consideration. I think if Russ continues what he's doing, it's gonna be super hard to beat Russ this year for MVP.
Yeah, for sure. But my note is this: so Mike Vrabel is a goddamn genius. So what he did was he put 12 men on the field on purpose on a 2nd and 1 with it was like 3.5 minutes left. And so the reason he did that is because when you have 12 men on the field, the clock stops. So Tennessee gave up a first down, the clock stopped, and it allowed Tennessee to get the ball back with more time. Obviously, that played a big role because they scored with 4 seconds left. Goddamn genius. That's number one. Number two is rip to Houston's defense because Derrick Henry was in a wildcat formation from the 5-yard line on 3rd and goal in overtime, and this man just trucks it in. Unstoppable.
Yeah. Derrick Henry had a game yesterday too. He had 210 rushing yards, something around there.
I think he had over 200 rushing yards, and then he had an additional 70 passing yards.
The dude is a dump truck on wheels. That is what. Yeah. I mean, he just trucks through people. You just can't stop Derrick Henry. It's incredible how big he is. He looks like he's like a 17-year-old dude playing pigskin pee-wee football. Yeah.
So I'll ask it later, but I'm gonna ask you now too. Is Derrick Henry the best running back in the NFL? And I'm gonna have to say yes. And I know we have Zeke, but I think Derrick Henry is better than Zeke, better than McCaffrey, better than Kamara, better than Saquon. This dude is unstoppable.
I'm going to put Kamara at number 1. If we're talking about this season and this season only, I'm saying Kamara's number 1.
Derrick Henry has rushed for more 200-yard games than I think every other player in the league since like 2016 or 2017 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
It's a very good argument you're making, but I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara.
That's all right. That's all right. Give me the next game.
So, yeah, next game, didn't think this would be an actually close game, Indianapolis-Cincinnati. Cincinnati jumps out to a 20-0 lead. And then Phillip Rivers, who is the king of knowing to blow leads, actually is on the other end this time and comes back. It helps when you actually have, I think, a better team with Indianapolis. But the Colts hang on. They beat the Bengals. At the end of the day, Bengals are still the Bengals, even with Joe Burrow. They're just not a good football team.
I will say that, yeah, you're right. But Joe Burrow looks pretty good. Like, he's given a little bit of hope.
He is. He's given hope for Cincinnati fans. Just get a better O-line and get a few. I mean, you got some good targets around him too, and I think
Tyler Boyd, AJ Green, John Ross, T Higgins. So like he has pretty good guys, and he has Joe Mixon and Giovanni Bernard. So I mean, he has a few good running backs. Yeah, he's still playing. He scored a touchdown yesterday. He scored a touchdown yesterday for the first time since 2018.
Wow.
Who would have thought? Not me. I'm going to let you go on the next one, too, because I know you like to rant.
Oh, boy. The two teams that always screw me over this year, it's fitting that they play against each other and still screw me over. Minnesota, you freaking suck. I'm sorry. Kirk Cousins is awful. Minnesota, I'm sorry. You need to get rid of Kirk Cousins. You just need to get rid of Mike Zimmer. You are not a great organization. I've never screamed out loud on this show in my life, but I'm just so frustrated with Kirk Cousins because he does not deserve that much money for how much they paid him and how good of a team they were before he came, and now he's ruined that organization. Wouldn't you agree?
I wouldn't say – I would say yeah. I mean, there really is nothing. Definitely trading Stephon Diggs was not a smart move.
No. And Kyle Rudolph is one of the biggest, baddest tight ends in the league, and you never utilize him. And they do have Justin Jefferson, who from LSU. He's been a pretty good pickup for them this year. But Minnesota, there's a lot of things wrong with you. Atlanta decided they blew the doors off them. Atlanta's, I guess they got their first win, so they're not winless anymore.
Pretty bad.
They're still a pretty bad football team. So, that was it was the toilet bowl of the week. That's what it was.
I would say the next one's the toilet bowl of the week. This was the equivalent of Louisville at Notre Dame. It was just the Broncos beat the Pats. There's really nothing to say about it. Broncos scored 6 field goals, and the Pats, I think, scored 1 touchdown. Your little comment that you put in, New England is 2-3.
With a smiley face.
Yeah.
Just because Brady's gone, still hate the Patriots more than ever. They're sitting in 10th in the AFC, and you just hate to see it. It just sucks to see the Patriots struggling. But I would love it if the Patriots can miss the playoffs this year. And the AFC is super competitive. I think probably it's most competitive it's been in a long time.
Remember, we do have an extra team in the playoffs this year.
I am aware of that, but it's still. You still got that 5 to 10 spot. You got like teams such as Indianapolis, Vegas. Who else? Miami could be a surprise and maybe sneak in there. So
you definitely have to figure that at least one wild card spot, if not 2, is going to the AFC North. Because you have the Ravens, the Steelers, and Browns. So it's still up for grabs. Long season to go.
Yeah, I'll let you take the next game.
Next game, Ron Rivera decides to just risk it all. And, I mean, that's what the Washington football team does. They lost 20-19 because Ron Rivera wanted to go for 2. Giants have their first win, and they are 1 game out of the NFC East. But if the Cowboys win tonight – actually, you know what? If the Cowboys lose tonight, we will be 2-4, and we will still be in first.
You're in first no matter what. You're in first no matter what. So
we really are.
That is just sad. The Giants are 1 game out of going into the playoffs and 1 game out of getting Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, literally, you are literally weighing your options: playoffs or first pick in the draft.
If Dak was was not injured, I would say the Cowboys could have a chance of getting a winning record this season. NFC East will not have a winning record team. I don't
I
think so.
think
They won't even
I
have.
think
They
we'll
won't even
be
have a
8-8.
500 team. I don't even
I
think
think we'll be
500.
8-8. I have to say Andy Dalton's not as bad as everyone thinks he is.
I'm not saying he's as bad, but that defense is bad. No offense, but it's.
It is. It's terrible, but we get Leighton Vander Esch back tonight, so provides a little bit of hope.
You're also playing a really good offense tonight, so we'll have to see how you guys do against a great offense.
I'm predicting a shootout, so
that'd be fun. Moving into the next game, Baltimore, they get by Philly. Philly does have a late comeback. It wasn't really a competitive game, but Philly scored 2 touchdowns late in the fourth. They made it a game. Didn't get an onside. Carson Wentz sucks. Eagles suck. They're 1-3-1 now. So
shout out to Philly fans for getting a fight, even though it's COVID.
Philly got a fight. I think I saw 2 separate fights in the game.
I think there was several fights that we probably
there
didn't
were several
see.
fights, so Philly's back and booming better than ever. It's usual Philly, so
yeah,
that's about all you got going.
Eagles fans hate being Eagles fans. And then across the state of Pennsylvania, I picked Cleveland. I don't know why I picked Cleveland. Pittsburgh beat the shit out of them. I mean, it was just. Can I say it? How professional are we?
Let's
keep it somewhat.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Not gonna make a Michael Vick joke about dogs. Yeah. Shout out to the Steelers, I guess. I don't know. They're 5-0. Not really an impressive team, but
they're not. Neither Tennessee is not impressive to me either, and yet they're both 5-0.
I looked at the teams that they were playing, and that's probably the next good matchup for these. Both of those teams play each other, Titans and Steelers, so I feel like that's the best matchups that they've had all season.
I still think it's the AFC representative is either going to be the Bills, the Ravens, or the Chiefs. I don't think Tennessee or Pittsburgh gets to.
Oh, I think Tennessee's legit. I know you don't want to hear that. I only say that because of the coach, Mike Vrabel, who did coach under Belichick, and he's just like he has the brains clearly, but also I think how they play their offense, trying to control time possession, trying to run it through Derrick Henry, who obviously just runs through everyone. I think that they actually have a surprising shot.
Yeah, and then just another note to Baker. I don't think he was benched. I think he just got super banged up yesterday. They didn't want to take any chances.
He came in with bruised ribs too, so.
I've had bruised ribs before. It's not fun. It's not fun to walk. Even it's just hard to walk around with bruised ribs. So it's not a fun injury. Cleveland's still trying to figure things out. It was a surprising result, but it is what it is. And then going into our next game, Chicago, they beat Carolina. And they get to 5-1. I have a question for you. Do you think the Bears are a legit team?
I say yes, and I think it's just a typical Bears team. Their defense usually runs it for them.
Yeah, their defense will get into the playoffs, and they'll fly out in the wild card round as usual as Bears games go. So.
Yeah. I don't know what's worse, being a Bears fan or a Lions fan.
Well, if you're a Lions fan, you actually got to celebrate a lead that you kept yesterday. So that's kind of going into our next game. Detroit had a double-digit point lead and beats Jacksonville. This was just not a sexy matchup at all. I don't think more than 14 fans watched this game. So
not sexy at all. Jacksonville had a kicker who had not played in the NFL before, and the dude wasn't a rookie. I think he played soccer, and they were like, "Hey, come on."
It was their 5th kicker in 5 weeks. So
imagine being what's worse, the Jags or the Jets right now?
Dude, it's not a question. It's the Jets.
Well, leading up to the Jets game, I mean, they got killed by the Dolphins. Ryan Fitzpatrick looks like an MVP candidate because it was the Jets, and I swear that if one team played the Jets for 16 games, they would have over 6,000 passing yards, over 60 touchdowns. Goddamn, the Jets suck.
Yeah. Adam Gase still being the head coach of this team. I mean, you're just asking for an L every week.
I really think the management has bigger problems because if they're not firing Adam Gase, you have to question yourselves.
I want to do something. I want to look at the Jets schedule right now, and we can go down the list and see win or loss. Pray with me here for a little bit. We'll see. I'll just name the team. You say if they lose. Okay, next week, Bills, L.
Yeah, L.
Next game, Chiefs, L.
L. L.
Patriots, L.
L.
at the Chargers.
L. I
I,
think
I
Justin
don't.
Herbert gets the win.
They play the Dolphins again. It's going to be another L.
Yeah.
Raiders, L.
L.
Seahawks,
L.
L. Rams, L.
Yeah, L.
And then they end the year with Browns and Patriots. They don't. The only game I can see them winning is the Chargers. That's it.
I don't even see them beating the Chargers. I think you're going to call me crazy for this. I think Seattle is going to be the trip game or whatever they want to call it. But I think Seattle still wins. Trap game, trip game. But I still think Seattle wins it.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Tua. He got a little bit of time yesterday to play, so I know everybody was going wild over Tua getting to play.
Yeah, I mean, all those Dolphin fans without their mask on absolutely loved it. Florida's going to Florida.
I'll let you take the next Florida team.
Next Florida team, I've seen Aaron Rodgers play probably 2 or 3 times now. I've seen him demolish the Cowboys, but he got demolished yesterday by Tampa. Tampa didn't even make it close. They won 38-10. If you have Tampa for your fantasy defense, then congrats to you.
Well, shout out to me there. Green Bay. I don't think they're a legit team, and they kind of showed yesterday that they're not.
It was all downhill after Aaron Rodgers did his supposed touchdown celebration, and then it got called back. But he was just the Key and Peele, groovy like a drive-in movie.
That was pretty funny. The Packers are still going to get 11 or 12 wins this year because I looked at their schedule, and it's maybe one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. So, I mean, it helps when you play the Lions and Vikings twice. So
yeah, definitely not a good game. Give us a Sunday night game.
That Sunday night game, I don't want to say surprise, maybe a little bit of a surprise.
I think so.
The 49ers came out, looked really good. Right before the game started, I was thinking in my head, well, shit, maybe I should have picked the 49ers because this could be, Kyle Shanahan's a really good coach, and, coming off that horrible loss, they turned it around. They looked really solid against the Rams defense. George Kittle had a pretty good game.
Pretty sure Jimmy G is 5-0 now versus the Rams. It's either 4-0 or 5-0. Yeah.
Yeah, and another point I want to make is, are the 49ers the most confusing football team in the NFL, or is it simply just injuries?
I think it's a little bit of both, but here's my thing, right? I get that you have injuries, but you cannot lose to the Dolphins. You can't get killed by the Dolphins and then go out and beat the Rams next week. I mean, that's confusing.
They're 3 and what are they?
They're 3 and 3. Yeah, they're 3 and 3.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
They're still in the division, right? Actually, I think they're last in the division, which is crazy.
No, the Cardinals are 2 and 3, but that's because they haven't played tonight. So
Cardinals are 3 and 2.
Oh, okay, yeah, crazy. Didn't know that. But speaking about the Cardinals, Monday Night Football, Monday afternoon football, followed by Monday Night Football. Monday afternoon football first. The Bills versus the Chiefs. This one's in Buffalo or in Kansas City?
It's in Buffalo.
You nervous?
Yeah, we're kickoffs in 20 minutes, so we're gonna turn that on when we're done recording here. But it's both teams coming off pretty disappointing losses, I would say. Buffalo getting killed by Tennessee, the Chiefs getting not killed, but they didn't look great against Vegas. Buffalo only gets 4 days off basically, or 5 days. 5 days off, yeah. 5 days
and
off.
It's definitely a weirder schedule because usually teams play Monday night, Tuesday you rest. Wednesday, you get weights. Thursday, Friday, Saturday practice.
Yeah.
Throwing off.
I can see this being I'm going to say Chiefs 27, Buffalo 24. I think it'll be super close. Both offenses will look good. I think both defenses make adjustments from their previous games that they both gave up over 40 points. So it should be a good game. I wish this was the actual Monday night game and we could have switched it with Dallas and Arizona, but I'll let you take that.
Yeah, I wish we did too. I'm not a night person. I hate Monday Night Football. I hate Sunday Night Football. I'd rather go to sleep.
Grandpa Sam likes to sleep.
Yeah, I enjoy my sleep. So here's my thought on the previous game. I'm gonna go 34-27, Kansas City. Dallas, we play a very mobile quarterback tonight, which scares the shit out of me because our defensive line has not looked pretty. Also, last time we played DeAndre Hopkins, it was, I believe, in Houston, and in overtime, he broke 3 of our defenders' tackles and just slaughtered us. So I think tonight's a shootout. I'm going 45 to 45-41, Dallas.
39-37, Arizona.
Bold. Ballsy. Grab the horn by the balls and just said ballsy.
We like that. Yeah, and then we have some questions, from the weekend. We kind of touched upon the running back debate. Who's the best running back in the NFL? I have one for you. Is Mike Vrabel the leading candidate for Coach of the Year?
Yes. I really think that he's done a hell of a job with that team last year too. There are a few. There's a few teams that I guess you could argue with, but I really do see Mike Vrabel winning Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
I see Tennessee finishing 13-3.
Wow, that's bold.
Yeah, but you also have to realize they play Jacksonville. Indy is decent, but they're not great, and I think Houston, they showed potential, but I think that's because they played under a new head coach again. So it's not very. They're still a little bit alive.
Yeah. I would say he's definitely up there. I would throw maybe the Bears coach with Matt Nagy in there. The job he's done with Chicago with how crappy Trubisky was and, making the decision to put Nick Foles in. That defense looks good. I think it's still super early in the season though, so we got a lot of time left.
Yeah, for sure. And, from just teams to division, I guess you could say, trying to phrase this right. Do you see any NFC East teams making the playoffs with a winning record?
Not a chance. Like I said, 7-9 is going to win that division. Really, low-key would not mind if the Eagles win it at 6-9-1. I think that would be hysterical to have a 6-win team in the playoffs.
Come on, man. Can't have that. Can't have 6-9-1. I know why you want that.
Oh, I didn't even realize. Oh,
Yeah. Shut up. Speaking about NFC East, 2 NFC West, do 3 teams in the NFC West make the playoffs?
I would say so, yes. Could they get 4?
They
could. They get all 4? They could.
If you're saying they get 4, that means either it means either the Saints or Tampa from the NFC South. Obviously, the NFC East is a shithole right now, and then Green Bay from the NFC North, and assuming the Bears don't get it.
No, that's not going to happen because the Bears and the Packers are both playoff teams.
I think the Saints missed the playoffs this year.
I think they are. I think they are too. I would say.
And I think
NFC
Brees
West
retires.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that happening. But which 3 teams? Obviously we think Seattle probably gets in.
I think every team but the Cardinals. I thought I had the Cardinals going to the playoffs this year, but I think the 49ers. You know what? It's either 49ers or Cardinals for that second wild card spot. Obviously, the 49ers have multiple injuries, so it's a little scary to pick them, but it's one of the 2.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there.
Yeah, for sure. And then going from football news to our other sport news of the week, give it.
Yeah, so starting with golf news, also a little teaser. We got a very special interview coming up on Thursday with PGA golfers. So just a little tease there. Very excited about that, having a certain somebody on the show. But yeah,
surprise, coming down on Christmas morning.
Yeah, recapping the week. Jason Kokrak gets his first ever win on the PGA Tour in Vegas. The dude's been, the dude's been super competitive in a bunch of tournaments. It was he's been on the tour for 7 or 8 years. Incredible that it took him this long to get his first win, but shout out to him. We're marching towards Augusta. We're just 3 weeks away. 3 weeks till Christmas. So I'm super thrilled about that. So, we'll have to see how the golf world unfolds over the next few weeks leading up to Augusta.
Yeah, for sure. And going from football to football, couple of top European clubs are not starting out so well. Real Madrid and Barcelona both lose on the same day. I cannot tell you the last time that happened. Just a very slow start. Yeah,
Barcelona's sitting 10th in the La Liga right now. I'm pretty sure they've only played 3. They've only played 3 or 4 games, but not great for some of the. And even the Premier League too. We'll get into that, but Man United, they're not they're not off to a great start.
Man United off to a bad start. Liverpool, Van Dijk just got hurt. They also tied Everton in the Merseyside derby. So very slow start for a lot of teams.
Yeah, and then we got Champions League this week kicking off. So excited about that group stage.
Yes, Champions League this week. Tomorrow as well has Wednesday. So tomorrow obviously being Tuesday, and then the following day is Wednesday. PSG versus Man United. Exciting. Last time they played, Man United had the stunning comeback a couple years ago. Chelsea versus Sevilla. Sevilla did win the Europa League last season. And Chelsea obviously acquiring tons of players and tons of talent. So definitely an exciting couple matches. Give us the other two.
Yeah, we got Bayern Munich, who won the Champions League a few months ago. They take on Atletico Madrid, who have been off to a hot start. And then one of the more fun teams to pronounce, Ajax from the Netherlands, taking on Liverpool. Excited. I always like Champions League and even Europa League group stage. It's always fun. Shout out to Molde. Got to give a little shout out to the Norwegian. They got Arsenal in their group stage for Europa League, so they get to play Arsenal.
Yeah, they're gonna get killed.
rip to them. So, but hey,
yeah, but shout out to them for getting Europa League.
Yeah, it's always fun when my Norwegian club gets in. But yeah, a lot of good soccer stuff coming out for sure.
Yeah, and to our top 5 of the week. Our top 5 of this week is sport moments that are unbiased. So this means that we could not pick our own team top 5. Give me your number 5.
Yeah, so number 5, this was just one of my favorite college basketball memories as a kid. It happened back in 2009. I was only 10 years old when this happened, but Syracuse-UConn, 6 overtime game at the Garden. I remember staying up till like 1 in the morning watching this game. It lasted 4 hours. It was the most insane college basketball game I think I've ever watched. Neither team could pull away. Neither team could. Everybody was dead. It was amazing to watch. That was
Kemba's year, right?
I think Kemba was a couple years later. Kemba was
2011.
Yeah,
this was Shabazz Napier was 2013.
Yeah, so this was before the Kemba era, but fun game.
My number 5 is Usain Bolt when he taunted his opponents in the 2016 Olympic Games. Do you remember him like smiling to the right at the camera and just dominated?
Yeah,
that was definitely
lightning bolt. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, give me your number 4.
Number 4, this was maybe the most incredible performance by a guy who's playing his last game, Kobe Bryant, of course, dropping 60 in his final game ever. I remember watching the game just in awe. I was like, this dude's really retiring, and he's dropping 60. I mean, he attempted like 65 shots.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Lakers fans booed every time that he did not shoot.
Yeah, I mean, if he really wanted to, he probably could have dropped 75 if he was really, really wanted to shoot everything. But, what a legend he was. It's such a cool moment to see.
Yeah. Obviously, I couldn't do that being a Laker. Well, at the time, was a Lakers fan, now Mavs. So my number 4, I'm not a huge college basketball guy, but this is probably one of the most insane shots I've ever seen. Chris Jenkins, when he hit the Villanova 3-pointer over UNC, seeing Roy Williams' sad face just made me happy.
Yeah, it's always fun to see Carolina lose, especially because he used to coach here at Kansas. So
yeah,
screw you, Roy.
Give me your number 3.
Number 3, I could actually do this one, but you couldn't because you're a Yankees fan. But Derek Jeter walk-off in his final game. I mean, I'm sure you remember it. What a moment that was. Versus Baltimore, what a walk-off single. I remember the call. It was just, the whole
it went down the second base line. Well, not second base. Yeah, I guess second base line.
I mean, what an incredible scene it was. He just looked so happy. Every time I see the highlights on YouTube, I get chills. And like I said, I'm not the biggest Yankees fan, but I've always been a huge Jeter fan. So super cool.
Chills.
Yeah.
My number 3 is the 2013 Iron Bowl. I don't remember the dude's name, but he ran the back to field goal against Bama, scored a touchdown. And all I remember is Auburn wins the football game. Auburn wins the football game. Auburn wins the football game. That was pretty crazy.
That was nuts. That was maybe the greatest college football game of all time. Going to number 2, probably the biggest upset, maybe arguably of all time in sports. The first and only 16 seed to ever beat a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. UMBC beating Virginia. Virginia was the number 1 overall seed that year, so it was insane. And then they turned it around the next year and won the whole the whole goddamn
Yeah.
championship. So that's just a cool story in itself, that what they did. But yes, go UMBC.
Yeah. My number 2, rip to you Falcon fans. If you're still listening, I apologize because Super Bowl 51, Patriots make their ridiculous comeback 28-6 in the third quarter. And then next thing you know, James White just runs it in on a halfback toss to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was that was crazy. Number 1 for me, maybe I broke the rules a little bit because I am a little bit biased. I'm a Tiger Woods fan, but Tiger Woods winning the Masters last year, I mean, it was one of the coolest sporting moments I've ever. Well, obviously, besides my teams, goes 11 years and all that controversy, like with his sex scandal and whatnot, and injuries and
everything. To Ella.
She got a lot of money out of it, so I think she's okay. But it was super cool. He's beloved in the golf community by so many. He's somebody I've looked up to for a long time. It was super cool to see him do something that I couldn't when I was younger and win a major. So it was probably one of the coolest sports moments I've ever seen. Who's your number 1?
My number 1 is the 2016 Game 7 of the World Series, the Chicago Cubs versus the Cleveland Indians. I remember it being tied going into the 10th inning, but then there was a rain delay. So then Chicago had to score, I think, 2 runs, and Cleveland scored 1. Chapman got the save. I believe it was Chapman, at least. Cubs won the World Series, first time in 108 years. Absolutely ridiculous. Not an easy task either, because Cleveland Indians ballpark is probably one of the most electric playoff spots that there is in baseball. So shout out to the Cubs for doing that.
Yeah, that was a crazy. That was remarkable. That was insane. It's still leaving me speechless. I still can't speak about it. It's been 4 years, but yeah. So those were our top 5 sporting moments. Unbiased edition. If we had the biased one, it would be all just Kansas City and KU for me. And for you would be Cowboys and Yankees.
Dallas Cowboys do this. Dallas Cowboys do that. Tony Romo when he beat Seattle in 2014.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
But we also do have another interview guest for you. Our interview guest of this week is Brett Guminsky. He is the tight end coach at Tennessee Tech University. I've known Brett since 2018, I believe. He was the quality control at Old Dominion University, and I was helping out with the football team doing some student assistant stuff. Really smart guy, really very nice guy. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I had a really fun time talking to him. He's super insightful on football. He's got such a football-minded way of going about the sport, and it was super cool to talk to him and get kind of pick his brain a little bit and see how he kind of dives into some plays, play calling, hear his backstory. So if you guys for our football fans, we really encourage you to stick around here for the end of the episode, because it was a great interview with him. Yeah,
be for sure to stick on and listen to the episode. Also remember to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, or give us a listen on Spotify, Anchor, whatever. Rate us on Apple Podcast. As always, our Twitter name is going to be up here, T_A_G Sports, as well as over there is going to be our, where's my finger? There it is. Not my fan, but in that corner, there is going to be the Two Average Guys Sport Podcast. But yeah.
Yeah, we got a few interviews coming up too, so we're bringing on some pretty special and big guests. We don't want to give away too much, but
we have special guests. We're leaving it at that.
We're grinding away, trying to build our brand. We have gotten our listeners up a little bit, so shout out to all of our new listeners who have jumped on, all of our new Twitter followers. It's been fun interacting with people on Twitter, and we'll hope to continue in the near future for sure.
Yeah, go Cowboys tonight.
Go Chiefs. Let's go.
All right. Take care, man.
See you later.
And stick on for this interview. All right. So we are here with Brett Guminsky, the tight end coach, if I'm correct, at Tennessee Tech in Tennessee. Not exactly sure where that is. But how has it been the first few months?
It's been great. It's in Cookeville, Tennessee. So we're about an hour east of Nashville. It's been awesome, man. I mean, I can't ask to be around a greater group of guys, coaches. Our head coach is phenomenal. Really, it's just kind of the perfect, situation as far as the people that you work with, the players that you work with. I feel like I'm the luckiest man in the world right now to be where I am.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And I'll let you take the first question.
Yeah, so kicking things off for you, Brett. So tell us about how you got into coaching and your different experiences at the schools you have coached at.
So it's been kind of a wild ride. I think this is my 6th job now, and I'm 27 years old. So it's been a lot, but it's been great experiences. I've loved everywhere I've been. I feel like it's all prepared me for the job I'm in now. And, based on, I'm a guy of faith. So I feel like God's just been preparing me for each job I've been in and taught me lessons along the way. I played high school in Virginia, and then I wasn't a big-time high school recruit by any means. I was 0, maybe -1 stars coming out of high school, and ended up going D3 for a year. If I'm being honest, probably wasn't ready to go to college yet. So I ended up transferring to community college, was out of football, and I was just looking to get back into into playing, and was kind of just trying to figure out where to go. Was looking at a bunch of different schools. Came across a school called North Greenville University. It's a D2 school in South Carolina, a very Christian-based school, which I liked. And I saw they had one quarterback in the roster. Applied, got in, showed up, and said, I want to play football. And got on as a quarterback, ran scout team for 2 years, just, doing anything I could to help the team. And I knew I was never going to throw any big-time touchdown passes for North Greenville, but I knew that I could help get the defense ready. And I really took that as a big thing. I knew I always wanted to coach high school ball, but it was really when I got around those coaches at North Greenville that really inspired me to coach college ball, because they had such a big impact on me. I wanted to be able to do the same type of thing for someone else, and they really did a lot to change, my life, I feel. And so I knew, just doing the math, I was in a quarterback room with 3 other guys, and all 4 of us wanted to go into coaching. And doing the math, and we were all graduating around the same time. So I was thinking to myself, I'm probably not going to get the GA job here, just because they're probably going to get up to the starting quarterback, the backup quarterback, the third string quarterback, probably not me. So I reached out to our head coach and just said, hey, are you okay if I go intern somewhere before my last season? And he was all about it. I was really just asking because I didn't want to ruin my NCAA eligibility. And he said, yeah, that's fine. Where do you want to go? And I said, well, I've always admired Danny Rocco at Richmond. It's really close to where I live. I'd love to go there. And apparently he was really, really close with the offensive coordinator at Richmond. So he called Richmond, got me an internship for the summer in coaching. So I spent the summer around Charlie Fisher, who has been a wide receivers coach for a lot of, FBS Power Fives. He's been a head coach for FCS Division II, and he was the offense coordinator there at the time. And then David Rocco, who was Danny Rocco's son, who is now the offensive coordinator at Western Illinois. And they really just taught me a lot of great stuff. Had a great experience there. Went back, played my last year at North Greenville. Afterwards, talked to Charlie Fisher again, and he said, do you want to come, be a quality control guy, GA type deal at Richmond? And I said, heck yes. So I showed up at Richmond and really excited to go to work. And, really awesome for Coach Fisher and David Rocco. They both go to Western Illinois because Coach Fisher got the head coaching job there. So I worked in operations for about a month or 2, just kind of trying to stay around the program, stay visible with Coach Rocco. Coach Garrett, John Garrett, he's Jason Garrett's brother. He's now the head coach at Lafayette College, came in as the offensive coordinator. He came from Florida where he was an analyst. And I learned a lot from him, just so much. I owe so much to my career to that man, John Garrett, for doing what he did as far as from a football knowledge standpoint. Also just professionally, just saying, hey, like, this is what's appropriate in coaching. This is what's not appropriate in coaching. And after that, he got the head coaching job. After that season, 2016, he got the head coaching job at Lafayette College. I went with him as the director of football operations and offensive assistant. So again, a GA type role. A coach that I knew and had some connections to got the head coaching job at Christopher Newport University, which a couple months later, which, I was really interested in. And he offered me the tight ends coaching job. So the spring of 2017, I was the tight ends coach at Christopher Newport. maybe a week before the season started, maybe even like 3 or 4 days before, the coach who I had played for in Division III got the University of New England job, which is a better Division III school than Becker College, which is where I went first. And he calls me and says, hey, I really need a wide receivers coach, which was more of what I wanted to do. You know, I was coaching tight ends, but I really wanted to be more, you know, wide receivers. And he says, what's your salary? I told him my salary, and he said, I'll triple that if you can get here in 2 days. So to me, that was a no-brainer. I went to Christopher Newport the next day, said, hey, coach, sorry, like, unless you're going to match this, I need to go. And they just didn't have that in the budget. And, you know, so much respect for the people at Christopher Newport, but it was just a move I felt I had to make. So I ended up going to the University of New England, went there for a season. After that season, I ended up getting an interview to become an offensive quality control for Old Dominion. And I ended up there and assisting the quarterbacks my first year, which was an awesome deal. Learned so much from Coach Wickham about quarterbacks, offense, being around, you know, Brian Scott and Bobby Wilder and some of those guys. You know, you just can't ask for more knowledge. The second year, Brian Steinspring came on staff, and they really needed to kind of to separate the quality control guys a little bit. Most of us worked with quarterbacks, and they needed some people to kind of work with tight ends, offensive line, and Coach Steinspring needed an assistant. And I grew up watching Coach Steinspring because I'm a huge Virginia Tech fan. And he needed an assistant, so I said, that is me. I will do it. What do I like? Do I need to give up an arm? What do I need to do to become his assistant? So they put me with him, and I spent a year working with him, which was absolutely just phenomenal. Working with a guy who you know kind of grew up, you know, watching and emulating and all that different stuff, and you know, learned a lot from him. And then you know, we, you know, didn't end really the way we wanted to at Old Dominion, but I landed here, had some connections to here. Actually, Coach Fisher, who, as I told you guys, gave me my first job, was one of the connections I had to here, and ended up coming on here and being the tight ends coach. So, you know, I've been a lot of different places in my, you know, this will be my 5th year of coaching. Been a lot of different places, but you know, I'm really excited about, you know, kind of where I am and all my experiences that I've had.
Gotcha. No, that's obviously very cool. You being around to a lot of different schools in such a short time. I guess you get to see new places. If you want to look at the pro there, obviously the con is moving a lot, but how would you say your leadership style has changed compared to when you were a quarterback and now as a coach?
I think it's changed a lot. I think when I was a quarterback, you know, I was a walk-on guy. And even when I was in high school, I was just one of those guys that was kind of loud, very kind of, you know, in your face a little bit, not really yelling at people, but just very energetic. And when I got into coaching, you know, I think there's a hard transition from going from playing to coaching, just because you have to interact in a different way. And the players obviously have to respect you enough and be able to listen to you and all that. And frankly, when you act like a player, it just doesn't work real well. So when I first got into coaching, that was one of the things John Garrett kind of had to, you know, kind of beat out of me was, you know, you are not a player anymore. You cannot behave like a player. You need to, you know, become a coach. So my first few months at Richmond was a lot of that was, you know, you need to become a coach. You need to, you know, get into this offense, really learn it, you know, all the different things that, you know, it takes. And, you know, and I spent a lot of time when I was at Richmond, you know, sitting next to Coach Garrett during practice. And then, and same thing when I was at Lafayette, then you go to Christopher Newport. And one of the things they really helped me with and did a lot for me with was, you know, you're now the head coach of a room. When you become a position coach, you are the head coach of your room. So you establish the culture, you are in charge of doing all these things to get them ready for practices. So you can no longer be that guy that stands next to the offensive coordinator the entire practice. And that was something Coach Link and Coach Mariani got onto me a little bit when I first got to Christopher Newport, but it was great. I mean, it was a huge learning experience, you know, being vocal with your room, being really in tune to what they're doing, you know, keeping track of academics, all this different stuff that really when you're a GA, sometimes you don't have the experience of doing that because you're just, you know, the position coach that you're working for takes care of that. And then I went to the University of New England and kind of got to implement that a little bit. And it's always been a little, it was a little crazy because, I'm so close to age with a lot of those guys. And, so I learned a lot there. And then when I came to Old Dominion, I think I'd, kind of been in the whole entire mode of, I'm not loud enough. I'm not loud enough. I'm not loud enough. I need to be louder. That probably when I got to Old Dominion, my first probably 6 months there, I was probably too loud. And I remember there was a point where the coaches kind of had to say, listen, you kind of got to tone it down more than where you are. And I think that's just where I kind of found my balance of, I think I'm in a great spot now. My second year at Old Dominion, I think I found a really good niche for it was, and I think every coach goes through that, what is your voice going to look like as a coach? Are you going to be one of those guys that, is really quiet? Are you going to be one of those guys that's really loud? Are you going to be one of those guys that kind of finds the middle? And for me, it was a lot about finding the middle and, kind of, because I work in extremes. Sometimes I'm either too loud or I'm too quiet. And it was a great experience for me through coaching to learn how my leadership style is now very, I think, balanced out.
Gotcha.
That
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting to see how your leadership style has changed from school to school and as you've gotten older. And going into our next question here, kind of like if you're watching football games these days as more of a casual fan at any level, do you ever look at the plays themselves and try to break them down just from a fan's standpoint?
Yeah, I'm pretty psycho with that actually. When I watch games, I'm always looking at what they're running. Always looking at what I can pick up, what I can bring even to, the staff that I'm working on and figure out, hey, they did this, is that something we can put in our offense? This was really cool. A lot of times just, a lot of times when me and my fiance are just chilling, and we got stuff in the background, sometimes I'll just put a football game on that I've already watched, but I'll more so watch it over in the background, just looking for the plays that they're running and the different things that they're doing to attack defenses. Because I think anytime you're watching a football game as a football coach, that is a opportunity to build to your, arsenal of what and, the creative minds. And there's a lot of people a lot more creative than me that are out there, coaching football. So anytime I can get a hold of Lincoln Riley, games or, Tom Herman or a lot of those Big 12 guys or, Clemson or, Alabama, any of those, big time programs that are doing some really cool stuff. I'd love to just sit down and just watch them.
Gotcha. And so, you talked about being at Old Dominion, beating Virginia Tech a couple years ago at SC Ballard Stadium. Leading up to the week, I remember talking to Sam Perryman, who is the cornerback coach, and he was like, we're going to win. And obviously you guys did win, but what were the thoughts in your head kind of has the game, I guess, entering the game after halftime where it was like, okay, we might have a shot, and then entering the fourth quarter when the score was so close?
That was a very eye-opening week for me. That week did more for my coaching career than any other week has ever done. And what was interesting about that was I had actually already been part of a ACC upset earlier in my career. My first game when I was at Richmond was against UVA, and we beat them 37-20. So I'd already been through a upset of that magnitude. But to be honest, what made that one really weird is at Richmond, that was our first game of the season. So we thought we were really, really good, and we were really, really good. But, going into that game, it was – I don't think a lot of people understand the background of what was going on. We came in with some really high hopes for that season. And, we had started out 0-3. We had played some good teams. But, Virginia Tech's rolling. That we had just watched them beat Florida State the week before. So, we're not having a great season, at that point. They're beating, teams like Florida State, who at the time was highly ranked. So I'm sitting there as a quality control guy, kind of in the back of my mind going, there's no way. There's no chance. And I know a lot of the coaches, would say, hey, we're going to win this. We're going to win this. And I just as a young guy was thinking, I'm going to do all the work. I'm going to do everything I need to do. But I don't really know if we got a shot at this. And as the week kind of grew, and this kind of just shows you the hypnotism that Coach Wilder can have on people. In a good way, in a great way, is, he's preaching, we're going to win this game, we're going to win this game, we're going to win this game. And around Thursday, I'm kind of like, can we win this game? You're kind of, really kind of wondering if you can. And but I still had my doubts a lot going into the game. And I remember I'm sitting on the field, a couple hours before pregame with Eric Acciani, who's a GA at Old Dominion. And he says, Brett, I think I know how we're going to win this game. And I said, shoot, go for it. Tell me how we're going to win this game. And he said, well, I think we have to play really good defense. We have to have a couple big offensive plays, but we have to go into the game tied. But it's not going to be big. It's going to be like, 14-14 or 10-10 or something like that. But we have to go into halftime tied. I was like, okay, that's a pretty good goal. And he said, but then we're going to have to win in a shootout in the second half. And I was like, okay, you kind of lost me, but, we'll see. So we started out playing pretty good defense. I think we gave up one big play at the beginning. And, Blake LaRussa comes in and starts having a couple big offensive plays. We go into halftime tied 14-14. And I'm kind of sitting there looking around saying, okay, this is a little weird. And Och comes up to me and says, now we just got to win in a shootout. And I'm kind of like, okay, thinking, obviously I'm hopeful, but I don't know. We come out the second half and we win in a shootout. We win 49-35. And I remember going down to the field and, Acciani comes up and, gives me a big chest bump and all that stuff. And, he knew I was a big Virginia Tech fan, coming into coaching. So he was like, you just beat Virginia Tech, all this kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there and I'm not even really as amazed by the game. I'm more amazed that, Eric Acciani could call it like that. I'm starting to wonder if he has some superhuman abilities or that kind of stuff. But it was really crazy how he really kind of had a vision for it. And it was also just really cool to see how our team responded. And I think the reason I say that did so much for my coaching career was it showed me there's a reason we play these games. We do not play with Madden ratings. We play with live human beings. And I think that just showed me that any given day, any team can beat another team. And I think you see that a lot across college football as a whole landscape now is you see, like there was that 1 week, earlier this season where the Sun Belt beat a bunch of Big 12 teams. And you're sitting there going, how does that happen? And, my experience with Virginia Tech was very much, showed me why that can happen. It's a lot about your belief, and do not underestimate the power that belief can have on a team. And, and I've been very upfront kind of saying, hey, like this is kind of what my mindset was. And it really changed the way I think as a coach whenever I go into games. I never look at games and go, there's no way we can win now that I've had those two experiences.
Yeah, that's awesome for sure.
Yeah, that was super cool seeing, for your coaching career and seeing Old Dominion as a school get their biggest win in program history. But kind of transitioning from Old Dominion to this current season, of course, COVID playing a big part in college athletics as a whole. What effect has COVID had on the Tennessee Tech program this season, and how have you had to try to adapt your coaching style to it?
I think it's had a large effect on our season. As far as the coaching style, I don't know if it's changed all that much. I think at the end of the day, you still have relationships with your players. Does it look a little bit different in the way you interact? I didn't know what Zoom was before this year. And, now we're on a Zoom call right now. And it's definitely changed the way you interact and the way you communicate. You're used to seeing your players all the time around the office, and now that's not necessarily all the case. Doing position meetings with a mask is very different. But at the end of the day, I think the teams that have done this really well are the teams that have had great leadership. And what I can say is our program at Tennessee Tech has phenomenal leadership. Coach Dwayne Alexander is a phenomenal head coach. And he does a great job of organizing us as a staff and giving us very clear vision. And whether that's as a program or just how you go about your week. And one thing that's been different about COVID is it's changed the way we as football coaches conduct our business. Usually we're used to, as football coaches, knowing how the next 3 months is going to pan out as far as a schedule. Maybe not the games, but the schedule. And now every single day is different. You wake up and you expect this week to practice Tuesday and Thursday. Well, now you're practicing on Saturday, and you really had to kind of ditch Tuesday and Thursday because something happened. And now we're COVID testing all the time. We're testing every week. And, and then you got contact tracing. And, sometimes you have to delay stuff just because you need to kind of understand your situation. You have a few more people test positive than you would have liked. So you need to gather all your information. And I think our head coach does a phenomenal job of saying, hey, this is what we're going to do this week. Hey, this has changed. Hey, this is all that's happened in the NCAA. I think when we decided to move our season to the spring, that was a really hard decision for our team. And I think that was very hard on them emotionally and mentally. You're going through all the physical exhaustion of what it takes to prepare for a season. And now you're saying, hey, we're going to play. And then, the next week, hey, we're not going to play. Hey, we're going to play. It's kind of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And our players didn't really know because all the conferences were making their decisions. And our conference was the last one to say whether we were going to move or not. And, we didn't really know until I think maybe 2 weeks before the season was supposed to start. So it's been very hard on the players. One thing that's kind of been nice about moving into spring is giving us some time to kind of lay out some vision. One thing that has been really cool, and I don't think a lot of people think about this, and COVID is awful. It's been, a pandemic. It's been hard in our country. I think we all know people who have been greatly affected by it, and my condolences to anyone who's had someone lost over COVID. One benefit is had from a football standpoint is that we get to develop these freshmen a little bit faster than we would normally get to develop them. Normally you get a kid, he comes in, let's say the summer. You get him June, July, August, and now you got to be ready to play football games. And, when the kid was going to prom 6 months ago, that's a little hard. And now we can bring freshmen in, and, my 2 freshmen I have in my tight end room do a phenomenal job, and they're going to be great players here at Tennessee Tech. But we've gotten to develop them. We've gotten to do everything we would get to do with an older player. And, now they're freshmen, and they'll be freshmen next year because of the NCAA rule. But they don't behave like freshmen. They don't act like freshmen. And a lot of that's credit to who these 2 young men are. But a lot of it also is because we've had extra time with them. We don't see the mental errors that you would normally see from a freshman just because we have so much time with them.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, with COVID, just condolences out to everyone. But you are playing football this year, I guess you could say, this academic year. Obviously, there are some schools that are not, Old Dominion being one of them, with a couple other FBS programs. But to kind of the next question, what were some of the players that you looked up to kind of growing up, whether it was professional, as well as coaches, collegiate and professional level? What were someone, like, if you're like, oh, I want to be this guy, like, who would it have been?
I think as far as professionally, I always looked at Tom Brady. He was always a underdog type guy. I always thought myself as more of an underdog. He's a little bit more energetic like I was when I was playing. Obviously not the same talent, but very much the same, I feel like, attitude. He probably, he is a lot harder worker than I probably was as a player. But definitely looked up to him. As far as coaches, I really looked up to Frank Beamer, growing up in Virginia. Brian Steinspring, funny enough, who I ended up getting to coach for, which was a really cool deal. And those are my 2 big ones, growing up, is I really liked those. Those coaches were phenomenal to me, and I really looked up to them.
Gotcha. That's I guess Tom Brady is a good person to look up to.
Yeah, absolutely. And and there's even players that I've been around that I've gotten a chance to coach that I look up to. Kyle Laletta is now in the NFL, and I learned a lot as a coach from. I would say this: he taught me more as a coach than I taught him as a player. I would say he just how hard of a worker he is, how into the program he was, how much he cared about his assignments, and also just the type of leader he was. I really admired that, and I always wanted to take that away from him. And then even just some of the players that I had at Old Dominion, some of the tight ends we had last year were really, really hard workers, and I've always admired those kind of guys.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so our next question is, so has there been a dream job at a particular school or in the NFL that you've always wanted to coach at?
I think that as a coach, I think you always have your dream job. I think it's always hard to speak out because, for a lot of us, we just don't know what's going to happen. And we're trying to, navigate through this career the best way that we can. Right now, my dream job is being the tight ends coach at Tennessee Tech, because I love this school. I love this program. I love our head coach. I love our offensive coordinator. I love all our position coaches. They're amazing people. So right now, that's my dream job. When you're sitting on your deathbed, and you got to say, hey, where did I want to end up? I would say my dream job is being the head coach of Virginia Tech. But again, that comes with a lot of caveats to that, because, you just never know where your career is going to take you. You never know what different programs are going to look like. For example, like Dabo Swinney, probably when he was and I can't speak for Dabo, I don't know Dabo, but I would have to think that his dream job growing up was to be the head coach at Alabama. Well, I bet if you asked Dabo Swinney right now what his dream job is, to be the head coach at Clemson. So I think for me, if I had to speak right now as a 27-year-old, it is the head coach at Virginia Tech, or, maybe even the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers or something like that, because I think that would mean a lot to my family and stuff, because, a lot of my family is big Steelers fans. I'm not necessarily a big Steelers fan, but my dad and my brother are, and my mom is. So that'd be really cool. But at the end of the day, I'm just really excited to see where my career takes me, and, what ends up kind of coming of it, and what it all ends up looking like. I think God is going to put me exactly where he needs to put me. And at the end of the day, that's where I want to be.
Yeah, it's a really interesting answer. I'm just not personally, for me, I'm not a Virginia Tech fan, but I understand why people want to coach there, being the biggest school in Virginia. I guess one of our last questions is, with the NFL season still going, what are your predictions, or who are your predictions to end up in the Super Bowl?
I would say right now it's got to be either the Ravens or the Chiefs. I think it'll be the Chiefs, but it'll be the Ravens or the Chiefs. I think it's, we had those years where we had Tom Brady and Peyton Manning going at it in the AFC. I think we have our next two. I think it's going to be, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes going against each other for the next, 10 years in the AFC. That is just how I see it. And sometimes it's not a popular opinion, but that's how I see it. And then the NFC, anytime you got someone wearing Brady on the back of their jersey, I don't think you can count them out. So I think, ignorantly, if I had to say it, I would say it's going to be the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. I would love to see the Buccaneers and the Patriots. That would be the greatest thing in the world. But I think at the end of the day, it's either going to be the Chiefs or the Ravens. And then I would say I'd say the other team comes from the NFC South in some way, shape, or form. It's going to be the Buccaneers. It's going to be the Saints. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Panthers. I think the Panthers could end up being a team that ends up, kind of bearing some fruit and doing really well. I could see them being a team that, slides in at 10-6, and then it has a run. I could see them doing that.
Gotcha. And then I guess my last question for you, that is kind of not on it, but Travis Fulgham, you coached, I guess, when you were the quality control coach at Old Dominion, and you were with him for 1 year. You surprised with his emergence in the NFL?
No, he's a phenomenal person. I didn't directly coach him because I was with the quarterbacks, but every interaction I had with him was really, really positive. As a person, he's great. Doesn't mean you're necessarily a great player just because you're a great person, but also I thought it was interesting, and not to take anything away, Jonathan Duhart is a great, great player, and I don't know where he is in the NFL right now. I think he's still in the NFL, but phenomenal player. But I thought Travis Fulgham, was kind of a hidden secret at Old Dominion too, because he made some phenomenal plays in the Virginia Tech game. I think he caught a numbers fade for a touchdown, and every time that I go through my cut-ups now of Old Dominion, just looking for different stuff we did at Old Dominion that I might want to bring here and talk about and all that stuff, you see Travis Fulgham in almost every cut-up. Every play, it's like, oh, this was a great offensive play that we ran at Old Dominion. This is a great pass concept we had. Well, every cut-up is Travis Fulgham catching something. So, to me, it doesn't surprise me. He was also one of those guys that he really worked hard at practice, and almost so hard that it was kind of just interesting. He was one of those guys that when he caught a pass that was deeper, even if he got tagged off, he would run to the end of the end zone just to visualize scoring a touchdown. And I always thought that was something that, I haven't seen a whole lot of that, and he definitely, I think, has a chip on his shoulder, and for good reasons and in a very positive way. And so, no, I'm not surprised at all by seeing Travis Fulgham be great in the NFL. I think Jonathan Duhart, if he emerges, could be a great player in the NFL as well. I mean, I think a lot of those guys, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Lauletta ended up being a great quarterback in the NFL. I mean, a lot of those guys, and I think it's different because, you end up becoming emotionally attached to these guys in some type of way. I didn't directly coach Travis Fulgham, but just seeing him and seeing him in the NFL and everything, great. And again, even O'Shea and Zimenez, who's now with the Giants, I still believe, I could see him having a breakout year. I mean, I think there was just especially that 2018 team, we had some really phenomenal talent and some really phenomenal people. So Travis Fulgham blowing up in the NFL is the least surprising thing I've seen in the NFL this year.
Yeah, and to kind of go off what you said, I think the last time I heard about Duhart, he was on the practice squad for Detroit. I don't know if he's still on there, but there are a few ODU players in the NFL now. So. Yeah,
they're all phenomenal people. I mean, some people don't have the pleasure of necessarily having to coach people who they admire so much, but a lot of those guys at Old Dominion, I just really admired who they were as people. So I'm so excited to see all of them succeed and all of them go and do great things.
Yeah. We don't really have any more questions. I don't have any more, Espen. Do you have any more?
No, I think you answered everything really thoroughly, and it's really interesting to hear about your career and where you've coached and who you've coached, and just kind of your experience in getting a college football coach on our show, which was something we both wanted to have. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me. Sam, it's awesome to see you again.
For sure.
A lot of you may not know Sam worked with me a little bit in recruiting at Old Dominion, and he, is a phenomenal guy. You guys are in really good hands, and Espen, you seem like a great dude. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you, and best of luck. I'll be reaching out soon sometime.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Call me anytime.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, man.